Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear David. I know I'm like a week late. Happy birthday to you.
It's me, Hitman Breaker of the Eye.
Welcome to Genius Brain, mother people. My name is Joe Jitsukawa.
And I'm David So.
And we have brains of genius. So we started this podcast to do talking.
To do the talking, man. This is a podcast about nothing and everything. You know, I think a lot of people are saying, or they're asking kind of generally, what's the general topics of this podcast? I don't like general topics of anything. I just do
You mean like what do we always talk about?
Yeah.
Like what's the main thing?
I don't fucking know.
We talk for a long time. Even off camera. Like we can talk for hours, dude.
This is our off camera conversations. You know, it's interesting because when I was doing when we do JK News,
yeah,
a lot of it's the point of JK News is to be entertaining as possible, right? Mm-hmm. Because these are short excerpts and we have these flash articles and ideas. So sometimes we're like, why did you guys elaborate? Well, it was a fucking 10-minute video.
Yeah. I mean, people don't understand how it works behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So it's so easy, right? It's like when you're watching sports, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's so easy to go, you should have just shot. You should have fucking made the basket, man. What the fuck, dude? Yeah. That's what's happening, really. The comment section's all a bunch of audience people, like it's like, you should have done it this way. Why didn't you tell it that way? It's better.
It's so funny when I remember we used to get fucking heat for putting out Hot Topic stuff like 4 or 5 days late.
Yeah.
And people would be mad. They're like, yo, that was way late. You guys are so late.
Yeah.
But then we started putting it out earlier. They're like, well, you don't have all the information. Well, of course not, because you asked for it earlier.
Yeah, that's why we used to put it out late.
Yeah. So we would get the information right. But then when we got the information wrong, because what happens is these keyboard words are so funny because they would be like, well, if you guys did your research, you would know that it was I was like, you only found out after the fact.
Why do they all sound like disapproving Asian moms and shit? Like, what the fuck? They're channeling their inner Asian parent and shit.
So how can you be an Asian parent when you watch Just Kidding News, you son of a bitch?
I know. I don't know. I think I used to get pissed off about it, but it just tells me that they care a lot, And it's just uninformed comments.
Yeah.
They're just making comments because they don't know.
Yeah.
If they knew, then they'll be like, oh, fuck, okay, yeah, like... Yeah,
some of them I think some of them just the right shit's just the right shit. Like I wrote back to somebody and I fucked up my New Year's goal. My New Year's goal was to only write positive comments. Man, I did not do that. I cannot do it. It's like an itch I have to scratch.
You have to fight.
I have to, man. And it's not even because like I feel vindicated. It's more like, damn, I have a really good insult for this person.
Yeah.
And it sucks I can't write it.
Yeah, because you love roasting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, because like it just makes me so mad. And I never roast people who roast me really well. Because that's just funny as it is. But for some people who write something that's clearly not funny, it's like, I gotta make fun of this person because it's so bad, dude.
Yeah.
I had this Ajishi like right on my channel. He goes, I don't understand why you always don't like a Korean people and why you so always talk down about our people.
I've never heard you talk down about Koreans.
Never. If anything, I
mean, you'll joke.
Yeah.
But maybe something's being lost in translation.
Oh, for sure. He goes, and then he writes this whole fake conversation. He goes, I imagine your mommy and daddy say this. They go, oh, how come my son cursed so much? And then they go, I'm not proud of him at all. They fucking wrote something to that line where he wrote a fake dialogue between me and my parents.
He wrote a script.
Yeah.
Dude, he put a lot of thought into this shit.
And I just laughed out loud. I just wrote LOL, ha 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 ha. I couldn't stop fucking laughing. And I remember I was taking a shit while I was reading this comment. And then
my God,
I just kept writing back and forth to this guy because I was like, this guy's a fucking lunatic.
Yeah.
Because I looked on his YouTube channel, and on his YouTube channel, it's him in his office going, so this is my office. Today I have to do work. Nobody here because I'm a hard worker and I'm the only one in the office. Like, what the fuck is
good for you?
Yeah, and he was like talking to me about how I'm a disgrace to Koreans, he basically was saying that me putting out my content is a stain in Korean culture.
You make Koreans look bad?
Yeah, first I'm Korean American motherfucker. I'm two sides to the coin, homie.
Yeah.
I'm American and Korean, motherfucker.
It's the American side that made it tainted.
He doesn't like my American side, my opinionated side.
That's so funny. He thinks you're the representative of all of Korea.
And he has to be like 40 something years old
making
too.
us look bad. It's like, nah, dude, your existence is actually making us look bad.
Dude, that's what's so funny when adults make fun of like people our age or younger. They go, oh, all you kids do is sit around and just do nothing on the internet. I'm like, you do the same shit. Don't fucking lie, you piece of shit.
Especially Facebook. All these middle-aged people talking about like, oh, kids, they just fucking have nothing good to say. They're always drama. And it's like, you're the worst.
At least like
all you fucking 50 plus year olds on Facebook.
Because the sad thing is, like, kids on Facebook, at least half of them are trolls. Like, they're doing it.
Yeah, they're fucking around. They're trying to get a reaction from you.
But 100% of the old people completely believe everything that they're saying.
So they don't get the internet.
They don't. They don't understand the internet at all. Yeah. They don't understand what trolls are. They're like,
and they just argue all day. They're just arguing about Trump or some shit all day. It's like, shut the damn. And you think we're petty? It's like, God.
They write. I like it when old people, they do the old, they start using memes.
Yeah.
But their memes are not funny at all. But they're trying to see what young people are doing. And they go, oh, they're making this political commentary about some shit that I like. So I'm going to make my own meme.
Yeah.
And then it's the most unfunny fucking political meme I've ever seen in my life. But they're dying laughing on the other side. Did you see this? This is hilarious.
I like it when they spread fucking fake news.
Oh, what did they do?
There was this one I saw that was going around. Remember when Pokemon Go was coming out? Mm-hmm. Like and the fake news was like, oh, Japan is using Pokemon Go to basically like tap into everybody's phones and GPS so they can like spy on Americans.
Yeah.
And it's like Japan and America has been like allies for over 40 years.
A long time.
There's like multiple American military bases in Japan, like Okinawa, Yokohama, all that stuff. And it's like, to me, that's like saying Britain is spying on fucking US citizens.
Yo, that's like that shit where who was the guy that he was put on for saying the Sandy Hook was
Alex Jones.
That was
batshit crazy.
Dude, he is. I didn't realize how. Number one, I wasn't that big into conspiracy stuff, and I'm still not now. Not because it doesn't interest me. It's just so much information to read.
Oh, like I love conspiracy stuff.
Like I can't process all of it, but just looking into Alex Jones and kind of reading what he was about, like he's insane. Like it's
a character.
He's kind of like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there is a little bit to it, but it's so if you see his old stuff, like he was more chill, but then when he started ranting in his Alex Jones character, that's like if I became Uncle Chin, because Uncle Chin was like so popular, and then like I spent so much time being Uncle Chin that became me.
That's what it feels like, right? Because it's like it's almost like he doesn't know how to turn it off. Because when I started looking into Alex Jones, just because his name kept popping up, it was because he had an interview with Joe Rogan. Yeah. And I was like, dude, man, stop yelling.
Dude, they're homies. Like, they fucking did acid together. Like they hung out. But Joe Rogan says this all the time. Like, he's my friend, but he's batshit crazy.
He sounds like he just eats screws and nuts and bolts.
The fucking the bankers. The world bankers.
Yeah. You think you know her? Joe, you're smarter than this. You know everything. I'm like,
but the fucking funny thing is there's a lot of people that like die by him. They believe him. Like for me, this has always been entertainment. I love conspiracy because I love like how the human mind can have so much imagination, but also there's some truth to conspiracy because you should never completely trust anything.
There's been some conspiracy theories that have been proven right. Like there's like a list of them.
Yeah, there's a list of them, but there's also like some that's just fucking bogus too. Yeah. But it's interesting, but for me, it's always like, oh, look at things, in a skeptical way. But the problem with conspiracy and the people that are too much into it is they believe it first and then they try to prove that right all the time. Even when the evidence is like, they don't give up. So like yesterday I was watching this flat earth documentary on Netflix.
That's tight.
Yeah, and then they basically bring like flat earthers, and then they bring like scientists, and then they interview them separately, and they have a bunch of people from Caltech and all that. So like in the flat Earth community is actually growing. Like it's getting bigger and bigger. And there's a lot of people that believe that the Earth is flat. Yeah.
Oh shit! I thought that was just more like for people who are doing it for fun.
No. It's there, but it also made me realize, like, so you know how like we enjoy making kind of like roasting people and making them feel stupid.
Yeah,
because obviously they're so fucking stupid that it's fun to fuck with them, right?
Yeah.
But what I realized after watching this documentary, I was like, well, okay, like, what I really want to do is help people. It doesn't help them. It just alienates them. And then basically at the end of the documentary, the scientists were saying this, like, I think the problem is not coming from the flat earthers. It's coming from us. Like, like us scientists, like it's hard not to look at people and kind of be condescending and kind of look down on them like they're dumb or crazy or whatever. But he's like, we got to look at it in a way where it's like, hey, this guy is a potential scientist. Like he just didn't go through the same process. So they don't have the tools in their head to understand what is real science and how do you have a, how do you go through the process? Yeah. How do you have a hypothesis and how do you test your hypothesis? And then like, once you have your theory, how do you give it to a bunch of people that can test it? Because conspiracies and flat earth and things like that, it works the opposite way. You have a hunch or whatever it is, and then you kind of cherry pick the evidence that just conveniently works with your conspiracy, and then you don't want to believe any opposing thing. You could write it off and say, oh well, for example, one of the flat earth theories is like, oh well, there's a huge government conspiracy. There's a world government that infiltrated all the schools, and then like So the information is controlled, and like when you look at the Google Earth and whatever, like people go up and then they Photoshop it, and there's just all these reasons, right?
Yeah.
So to me, the difference is like one is a religion, and the other is more like a constant test. Like science is a constant test. It's like they say, oh, science keeps changing, so they're never right. But it's like, in reality, that is what science is.
Exactly.
You keep testing it until you get it right. So even if there is a solid theory for the moment, there might be more technology that comes out, and then we test that theory and we realize, oh, we didn't have the technology to measure this correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then overall, when I was looking at this whole situation, I was like, okay, like, so in this case, the scientists are kind of fucked up because they laugh at the flat earthers, they alienate them. And when I was watching how the flat earth community is growing, there's a lot of people that just feel lonely. And then like when they get into this conspiracy, like they want to talk to their friends and family, and then they get made fun of. And then like, they put so much heart and they care so much about this like newfound knowledge that of course no one's like, oh, really? Tell me more about the flat earth. They're just going to be like, shut the fuck up, you crazy ass.
Yeah.
And then they start losing friends because they're like, oh, well, you don't care about me because you don't care about what's important to me.
Yeah.
And then they find this flat earth community, that really, everyone, and then they build new friends and they build new love. And then there's this common interest. So but then because there's a community, they can't deny that it actually doesn't exist, because if they find out if the world was round, then what's bringing them together? So now they're stuck. It's like a cult. Like that's how cults form and religions and all that stuff.
That's so interesting because so for them, their found belief seemingly seems to be not so much in the theory itself, but how if this theory being around and existing gives them meaning to their life.
I think that's how a lot of things happen. Like think about activism.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you and a bunch of like-minded people get together and they fight for a cause, right? And let's say the cause is solved and you keep fighting for it.
So what do you do?
What do you do now? You got to find another thing to fight for together. Yeah. And it's always fight, fight, fight. Instead of like, okay, like we got what we wanted. now let's figure out a way to live in this new life. But then, that's why you got these angry groups that are just constantly fighting for something, because that's what brings them together.
It seems very, the flat earth thing is very much like religion then, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think most groups that people form, I think it's very similar to religion or cult or whatever you want to call it.
Because it seems like flat earth, that's definitely the reason why like flat earth and, people who obviously know that the world is round, they tend to clash, because one is based by faith and one is based by facts.
Yeah.
So when a scientist comes up and they say, okay, well, here are the reasons why this isn't true. A lot of I say 80% of the stuff that's brought out, a flat earth person won't address it.
No.
They'll go over it, or they'll mention some other fact trying to debunk something that wasn't even addressed.
Yeah.
And so that's where a scientist whose whole career is based on facts becomes angry and frustrated. It's like, what the fuck are you saying?
Because they're not speaking the same language.
Yeah.
Because the way that these flat earth scientists were like talking about it is like, well, they're in the documentary, right? They're doing experiments that are debunking their own theory.
Yeah.
Like, if the earth was round, then when we like point a light, there should be like like something in the middle. I mean, they're talking about this, and if it fails, they go, oh, well, but there's like a lot more other evidence. It just didn't work in there. But that's not how science works.
Yeah.
If there's one thing that disproves it, then one is enough to go, we gotta look at this differently.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of fanatics in science too. Like there's like, I think it's just human nature. Cause like they do say in academic science, like they're so kind of set in their ways that they can't think outside the box to challenge themselves.
Yeah.
So within science, there's always like revolutionary minds, right? That come in and then they disrupt it, but they still use the scientific method, which is something that I think people outside of it don't use. So for me, like, I like conspiracies because you never know. I like the unknown, but I don't believe it unless it's proven.
Yeah.
But to me, I entertain it because it's fun. It's really interesting to see where the mind can go and how much investigation people do.
I think that's what I like about science, though, is the fact that even though something as of right now is shown and proven as fact, it doesn't mean that it can't change later.
Yeah.
Because science also doesn't turn a blind eye to new facts, right? So, what was it? Which planet was out there that they said that was for sure a planet, but now it's a star?
I think it's Pluto or some
Pluto,
shit. Like,
right?
Yeah.
So just because it's been like that for a long time,
Yeah.
there isn't going to be a scientist that's going to refute that after there's new evidence stating that it's not.
Yep.
So that's what I really like about science. It's still a methodology to figure out truth constantly.
Yeah.
So the truth that is there right now doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever if there's new evidence debunking that, and nobody will argue that.
Yeah.
If it's undeniable anyways,
Yeah.
right? I mean, obviously, like, people will still say, oh, Pluto's a planet to me.
Yeah.
But if there's facts to say otherwise, the scientific community won't argue that, right?
Yep.
And that's what happens with climate change. People are upset about climate change because people are taking anecdotal evidence about what they experience, saying like, well, it's still cold here.
Yeah.
And they're confusing weather with climate change and science.
Yeah, because they can observe it and it's easier to, But I mean, that's just human nature. Like, I always say, like, we're no different from our primitive ancestors. We're just like monkeys with technology now.
Yeah.
But if you think about, every human still has to evolve to the present day. Meaning, like, when you're a child, right? You're literally like a primitive creature. And then you have to develop in different stages. And then I think every human goes through like the Stone Age, the Bronze Age, the Golden Age, the Renaissance, like your mind, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people get stuck in different zones. Like, we have some complete brute, like just caveman kind of human being still. And then you have like super alien level human beings that are just like out of this world, like Stephen Hawking, like some total genius guys.
Yeah.
And I think like we can't look at them as like you're beneath or above, but I do believe like there's different levels of consciousness and different levels of people's like mental abilities. Yeah. I mean, like, how can you deny that, right? Like Like there's athletic people that's just out of this world. That's way better than the average human being. That happens in the mind too.
Yeah. You know, I always found it interesting when I think a lot of conspiracy theorists, they hold on to the fact there are cases where conspiracies were proven right.
Yeah.
And that stuff is like a huge beacon of hope, right?
Yeah.
Because prior to people saying that those people were crazy, they were actually proven right. I wish I could remember the few that
Well, there's one here in LA which was proven right. And you know, if you've noticed everywhere, it's like, oh, this is so inefficient. We should have public transportation.
Yeah.
So when the car industry was growing, they had a vision for LA being like a bunch of roads and every person have a car. And so back in like, I don't know, like the 1920s or some shit like that, they had train tracks all over downtown LA. Like, oh, if you listen to old folks, they go like, I used to spend 10 cents and I can go from downtown to Santa Monica. Like there was a train system. There was all that, right? The car companies, they built fake train and trolley companies to buy up all of those railways and all that,
shit.
just to take them off. So then they can all get together and start selling cars. And now LA is dependent on cars. And there were people at the time that were saying this is happening. This is a conspiracy. They laughed at them. They didn't believe them. But then like that's what ended up happening.
Turned out to be true.
Yeah. And
That's
I think
fucking crazy.
There's a lot of conspiracies that have some truth to it. Like there's something fishy going on, but it's difficult to prove until later.
Dude, that's so fucking insane.
Yeah.
I always wanted the public transportation here to be better because if it was decent, and I think there's enough people here in the city where it will work perfectly fine, I would use it consistently. But there is no, so when I used to live in South Pass, I tried using the public transportation system, right? And it sucks because number one, it's fucking filthy.
Yep.
It's dirty.
There's a homeless man taking a dump in front of you. There's cholos fighting.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking it's so crazy because like the first time that we used it, Mariel and I we used it together. Just in the trolley car that we were in, there was a homeless man, but that wasn't the problem. It's just that he smelled really bad.
Yeah.
It was to the point where everybody had to leave and go to the other side.
Yeah.
You know, no knock to him. I mean, he's a homeless dude, but it's just like people having to deal with that type of stuff. There's no really like regulated and controlled system. It's not reliable. It doesn't go to a lot of places.
Yeah.
And it takes forever. So it fucking sucks.
It does.
You know? Like I
You
would
could
love
thank
that
the
shit.
car companies for that.
Stupid sons of bitches.
That's how they got balling.
I don't even want to buy a car. So I'm like looking at cars right now just because I have the Honda Element, but I'm like, okay, I want something more gas efficient.
Yeah.
But I hate driving so much. I don't want to go through the process of buying a new car.
I like driving. I don't like being in traffic.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
Yeah. I love long road trips.
So I'm just sitting there just thinking like, okay, if I buy this new car, it's like, what the fuck where am I going with this? You know? So I just like, I would like something a little more gas efficient. And the reason why I want that is just so I can save some money.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, it's just having the thought of me being in traffic bothers me. Like it pisses me off because it takes like even today, like I live on average away from here, let's say like 10 minutes, no traffic.
Yeah.
It took me fucking 25 minutes to get here.
Yeah.
Like just because one little mistake. And it wasn't
there was a car accident. There was like,
Yeah,
there's always something in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, that's where I think a lot of conspiracies, it's like motive, right? That's why I'm into it. It's like, it's like a process of elimination. Like, what is it most likely? Like, is it a world government? Probably not. What I've noticed is a lot of things are rooted to money. It's rooted to somebody's gain. And then like, so, so for example, JFK, right? Till this day, it's not solved. No one knows why he was killed, why he was, assassinated or anything like that. Oh, really? There's theories.
Yeah.
Like there's one where he angered the mob because like his family ran booze back in the day. The Kennedy family got rich running illegal liquor, and they had a lot of ties to the mob, and the unions helped him get elected. But once he got elected, his brother was the head of the FBI, and they started cracking down on mobs. So they basically backstabbed him. Oh, that was one of the shit. So one of it was like the mob was very powerful back then, And so one of the conspiracy is, they turned around and shot him. Another one is he was about to expose government secrets. And he made this speech and talking about, I think it was the New World Order or some shit like that. And then so they said that the Illuminati got him. Another one was, there's so many. Another one was he was planning to bring the gold standard back. So like that means like our dollar is backed by gold. That's our dollar used to reflect like gold back in the day. But now it's just it's like a trust. It's based it's based on debt and it's all that stuff. So they were saying like the Federal Reserve or that banking system came around and killed them. But there's like those are the ones that I kind of like, they're more realistic. Yeah. There's other ones where it's like, oh, he was going to expose that aliens control the government and things like that. Those are a little bit more far-fetched to me. But I think the conspiracies that I like are always linked to, it's a little bit more grounded. Like it seems like that, like this can happen.
So was there anything during like his presidency that made people dislike him? Like, for example, like if, let's say, God forbid, I'm not saying this shit happened, but let's say like Trump, somebody attempted to assassinate him. I mean, there's not much motive to see why not, because of all the hate rhetoric that's going around him. Yeah. So, but for John F. Kennedy, there wasn't anything like that.
I don't know. I mean, I wasn't a part of that era, so I just hear I just read good things. Like he was one of the most beloved presidents, and he did a lot of things like social things, and he made a lot of changes, but I don't know. I think the people that he did piss off was like the mob or like the people that have power. Yeah. So that's where a lot of the conspiracies kind of like come out. Yeah.
That's so weird because, you read about all these like assassinations, and the only thing I think about was how shitty was your fucking security, dude.
I know, right?
I feel like it's damn near impossible.
That's another one too, because the CIA or the FBI was an inside job. So that's why his security was shitty that day. Yeah. I mean, there's so many conspiracies, man. You can never tell. But sometimes I like to go off the deep end. Yeah. And like there's one about like the moon being a satellite.
What? That's fucking crazy.
It's like an alien like satellite. It's basically like observing humanity.
That's like me and like Scientology. Like Scientology is like one of those things is I there's no fucking way I'm going to believe it, but if what they're saying is true, that'd be pretty fucking dope. The whole volcano thing, the superpower stuff. The whole superpower stuff. I'm like, damn, dude. If I ever wanted something to be real, I would love for that to be fucking real.
I think it's dope. Like it's so unique. Yeah. Like we're trapped souls and we're unhappy and we need to like unlock all this shit, and then like there's a special superhero Xenu or whatever.
I'm surprised fucking Scientology hasn't like tapped into crack and saying like crack is something that was brought from Xenu, because you would see those motherfucking crackheads do backflips, land on their face, and they walk up like nothing happened.
I met someone that's that grew up in the church of Scientology.
For real?
Yeah, she's a stunt woman. She grew up in Hollywood. Her parents were like deep. And she says she has a family member that was a part of like their elite C group or whatever. I forgot what it was called. But she says like on the surface, when you're at the bottom level, it's like a community thing. It's not that weird. But her mom actually paid like hundreds of thousands of dollars to be like very high up there. That's crazy. She's like, the closer you are to the top is where the more of the brainwashing happens. But in the very early, like it's just like you go there and then it's like community, you fucking do acting classes, or you just go through for your therapy.
The weird thing was when I watched that very popular docuseries about the Scientology thing, was I felt bad for all these people who went through all these stages, donated all this money, and they finally reached the top and they go, that's it.
Yeah.
And they're like,
that's what happened to her mom. Her mom was like, she says, I still don't feel better. And I spent so much money. And then she went to the top and she's like, that's it. And then she started questioning. And then she left. But her aunt or someone that went deep in, like they actually live in the compound and like they don't talk to the family no more. And I'm like, whoa, that's fucking crazy. But she says when she was a kid and growing up and all that stuff, like for her, it was just like daycare and playing, and she says like when she became a teen and a little bit older, like you just go there to get cleared or whatever, like you just go and talk. And she's like, it's not that crazy, but it can be when you donate more and you level up. But she's like, it's more about the money than it is about the brainwashing.
Dude, cults are so interesting because they definitely target a very specific type of human being.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody who I feel like is people who are down and out and they're looking for answers, and they really will just take any puzzle piece that'll fit into their lives.
Yeah.
And it just gives them some type of meaning.
That's why fucking science and skepticism and shit is so good. You know, like if you don't have these tools in your mind, like being a skeptic doesn't mean that you're in denial.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, prove me right. Like I can be proven right. I'm open to it, but there's a lot of evidence that tells me that I shouldn't believe this.
Yeah.
So I think there's a difference between that and someone in denial, or someone that's just being negative. Someone that's just being negative is just like, they completely write it off.
I'm so surprised you dropped out of high school. I feel like the school system failed you, dude.
I didn't apply myself, but
Yeah.
at the same time, like I went to college.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of my learning happened. I think what I love about college is I learned how to learn. And I thank my teachers for that, because like my professors knew, like when I went to a lower income university or college, East LA College, right? They knew what type of mentality we had, and they knew the right words to say to get us out of there. Like I had a sociology teacher. She went to Harvard. She grew up in the ghetto, Mexican lady. She was like one of the only few Latinas during her time. And she was like, I want to go back to East LA, the SGV, and I want to help people elevate their heads from where they're at. And then all of us were just sitting there like, word.
Yeah.
That's how the world is. You know, like we didn't know that shit exists. And then so like I think it's been a lifelong battle to understand the difference between like anecdotal or fact or these different things that people throw around, but they don't know what they mean.
Yeah.
Like for example, like our Asian parents are like this, right? Like for them, if they heard it from a friend, if they read it in a newspaper, if they read it in a book, watch it on TV, it's all fact.
Yeah.
There's no difference between like, oh, you know, this person spent 20 years as a physicist and understands like, you know, gravity and all that
It's like
shit.
when they go to the Eastern medicine doctor and they go to a traditional doctor.
It has the same weight.
Yeah.
And that's what fucks with people's minds. Like that's what makes them unintelligent, or actually they don't have the right tools to make the best decision because they don't know how to sort out through the bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, hey, this guy, he spent 20 years studying acupuncture and he told me if I massage my ball sack, like I'll cure my cancer.
Yeah.
They see, hey, this guy went to school for 20 years too at the fucking meditation factory or whatever.
Yeah.
What's that? How's that different from this doctor?
And this MD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just going back to the scientific method, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how we try to figure out. That's what got us out of the medieval fucking.
Yeah, that's
stage.
when, you know, even when people say too, they'll ask me sometimes, you know, do you regret going to college or trying to go through the traditional method of education and stuff like that? I don't think I regret it because it did help give me perspective.
Yeah.
And I found out what I wanted through going through that system. And I think that everybody should experience it up to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't close yourself off to just that type of education. And I think that's where people kind of get messed up a lot. They go, okay, well, people equate the university that they went to and where they attended and the grades that they got to being a smart human being.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. Because, and how I explain it is this, I go, have you ever been to a restaurant where you hated the food? And they go, yeah, of course. Well, there you go. That person also went to culinary school. Doesn't mean he's a great chef.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. His food is trash, right?
Yeah.
So if that's the same case for like a traditional education, just because you went to a university doesn't mean that everybody coming out of that school is an intelligent person.
Yeah. That's true.
Same concept. So I think a lot of people do close themselves off to learning more, and that's where we go into the concept of, a lot of people who are book smart, but they're not very street smart. So they can take this information, they can go to class, somebody could say, hey, this is what you do, read the syllabus and you'll get this grade. Yeah. But then you tell them, hey, something happened here, can you solve this problem? Their fucking brain fries out.
Well, I think it's because one memorizes and then the other understands.
Yeah.
So when you understand material, you don't need to memorize it.
Yeah.
For most of our lives, we're taught to memorize.
Yeah. Just
what are these words? I don't know. It kind of in context feels like this. So a lot of people use the wrong words.
Yeah.
They just, oh, it sounds like this. So, I mean, yeah, this is what I'm told to do. So I'm just going to remember this sentence and I'm going to say this sentence 50 times until I remember it. And then when I take the test, I'm going to write this sentence down.
Yeah.
But they don't know what it means. And I think that's a lot of people that go through the school system, right? It's like it's human nature to try to do the least amount of work to get the biggest amount of gains.
Yeah.
So it's easier to memorize things and then write it down and then try to get an A. Versus like understanding a concept, like I think that's a lot harder.
Yeah. I mean, that was, it's so funny because I'm only saying this because I actually have a tendency to be the person who follows instructions and then tends to fuck up a lot. So I've been trying to rewire that and learn how to solve problems instead, which I have been getting better at. But just like on a small level too, like for example, I used to live with my roommate Ray.
Yeah.
Ray is the type of human being, when something happens, he's gonna fucking fix it and he'll figure out how.
I'm gonna beg somebody to do it for me.
I kid you not, when something happens in the house, I would just scream, Ray, and then he'll come down, he'll look at it, he goes, touches it, fucks it around, and then he fixes it like that.
That's dope.
And I look at it and I'm like, how do you fucking do that?
Yeah.
How do you look at something and solve it like that? There's no instructions to this shit.
Yeah.
And he just does it. That's how Vince is too. This stupid son of a bitch. I hate him. I love him. So he's also the guy, when something happens, he fixes it because his number one, his grandfather was like a carpenter, a woodworker. So he just knows how to fix things. Vince has been fixing roofs and he's very hands-on. So I got this table. And I didn't want to make it just because I knew it was going to take me forever. I started reading the instructions, right? Vince just opens up the box. By the time I finished one chair, he built the table and the other chairs.
Wow.
He just looked at it and he goes, yeah, I know how this works. Damn. For me, I had to look at the instructions and I was stuck on this one instructional part that didn't fit. It's because the instruction was actually wrong and it told me to put the thing in the other way.
Oh,
but
shit.
Vince, being a guy who doesn't need that, he looks at something and says, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
I don't need to listen to this because it's wrong and I'll fix it. But for me, I was so fixated on what this piece of paper was telling me, I couldn't move past it. So I'm like, fuck, I'm so stupid, you know? And I wish I didn't have that. And that's what Ray does too. Ray looks at information that's given and he also questions it and says, hey, this could possibly be wrong. Let me see what the solution is. And sometimes I do have that too, but I still have that tendency of just following what the instructions say.
Damn.
Which isn't a problem, but sometimes when things don't work, you do have to learn how to problem solve.
Yeah.
And I don't really have that.
It could just be that. Have you heard of, I think it's called the 5 intelligence or some shit like that. There's so for example, like it's like the saying where it's like, oh, if you judge a fish by how fast it could climb a tree, then you're the retard or whatever. You heard of that? Yeah. Where it's like, of course the monkey's gonna win, right?
Yeah.
So like, but if you judge a fish on how fast it could swim, it's gonna beat the monkey.
Yeah.
So it's like everyone has their kind of niche, right? So like that is like spatial intelligence. Yeah. Some people are good with that, or like some people are emotionally intelligent or socially intelligent or like whatever. There's a whole list of it, but it might be that like you don't spend time doing puzzles and like, you know, building. So you're just new at it. You know, it's not like you're dumbass.
I feel like it sucks because that's the skill that I really want because I will love Naked and Afraid. But every time I watch that show, I realize how much I wouldn't survive.
There's so much like, I think it's like a human innate, like there's such a weird attraction to just building.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, dude, I could watch it build all day.
Because even in that show, you start to realize who really has a knack and a skill for something.
Yeah.
So there's like episodes where you see people in a similar environment, but it's a different episode. But you see people build these things. Like I saw this guy, he built his raft. It was the shittiest looking thing I've ever seen in my life. It was just like, and that's the raft that I would create. But there was another episode where another guy was creating a raft, and it looked like something you could buy off a catalog. Like it was so crazy. Like he built a chair on the raft, and then a rudder that you could like steer in it. And I'm like, how the fuck did you make that from these trees in like 2 weeks? That makes no sense. Like I would have, the other guy, I kid you not, you know what his raft was? It was 2 logs that were strung together by vine, and he just laid on it. And the other guy literally created a raft with an armchair.
Damn. Well, I bet you people say that shit about your cooking.
Oh, maybe, right?
So it's like if you were in Naked and Afraid, you'll be the guy that like, I'll catch the meerkat and then you cook the meerkat or some shit.
Because I wouldn't like, I definitely need somebody to help me get to that point.
Yeah.
Because I look at what they do and I'm like, damn, they definitely understand how to use everything in their environment and make the most out of it.
Yeah.
I would look to them to do that, and I would try to see where I would fit.
Oh.
You know, because I don't have that type of leadership in that scenario. That's not something that I would be great at.
You could be the guy that passes them the leaves.
Yeah.
As they
would have to tell me what to do, and I will follow those instructions.
Yeah.
They'll be like, okay, well, we're going to go do this. So what I need you to do is collect dry wood so we could have a fire later on.
See, I'm the same way, man. Like, I like doing those things, but I don't know. Sometimes I spend too much time on something that doesn't make sense, and then like too little time, and it's all half-assed.
Yeah.
Like, so if I'm building or whatever, like I might be like, fuck it, and I stop it halfway and I start like sweeping the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like half done.
I
like,
definitely have ADD because I know from watching that show, like the two biggest things is fire and then shelter.
Yeah.
And then after that is securing fresh water. So that's what you should do. But for sure, the first thing I'm doing is fishing.
Because you're hungry. Yeah, you're like, I'm stranded. All this stress is making me hungry.
Like, you don't have any fire to cook that shit, you dumbass. I was like, nope, got to do it. And you have to do it before it hits nighttime.
Yeah.
So you need to secure that fire.
Oh, it's going to be cold.
Yeah, secure the fire during the day where it's the hottest. So, and then you just keep the fire going until it's nighttime.
I want to learn how to fucking rub 2 sticks and make a fire, man.
Dude, you know the guy, the primitive technology guy.
Yeah.
You saw his hands though, right?
Yeah, that shit looks callous.
They're calloused as fuck.
Yeah.
And that's how he does it with his hands, because I know even for me, like just shadow boxing on cement and both my feet blistered like a motherfucker.
You know, we have baby hands and skin, like as adults. So my buddy went to Costa Rica, right? And then he was telling me like there's a tribe out there, and he was looking at their feet, and then he's like, all of their feet look like dog feet. Like it's black and there's like a thick layer, and they run around barefoot and it doesn't hurt their feet. And I did research about like primitive humans back in the day, or even today with hunter-gatherers. And when the British first met Polynesians, like they keep writing about how strong these people are. Like women will swim across a whole entire river like with a child on their back, and then they would go up and then they test, like pinch their skin, and they're like they have an extra layer, what they call it an extra layer of skin, and then they had thick like calluses and stuff like that. So I think like what humans are supposed to do is we're supposed to build like this layer of strength, because we're not supposed to wear shoes.
Yeah.
Like that's not natural, right? Because I always thought like, man, why are humans so weak? Like if we didn't have clothes, and if we like, how would we survive? Or like, how did they survive back then? Like our feet so delicate, we would walk around in our like, there's so many rocks and jagged little plants. Like, how the fuck did we survive? And it was like, oh, if you have that thick callus, you could step on those fucking, those spiky little balls and nothing happens.
Remember that photo I showed you of that indigenous like
the Amazon
tribe?
feet? That should look disgusting, dude. If that's what my feet has to look like to be natural, fuck it.
Fuck yeah. It's definitely because our feet are kind of placed like if we put our hands out and we put all of our fingers together.
Yeah.
That's what our feet look like now.
We're like modern day feet binding with the shoes and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And theirs is very splayed out. So it's meant to kind of be very extremely tactile and grab onto things.
Yeah.
So it's more like our hand when it's spread out, where the opposable thumb is all the way out. And that's where their what do you call it? The metatarsals or whatever.
What do you think they do? Climb trees and shit all day?
I think what it is from what it looks like and how they were standing when they was being gripped is that there's no flat surface in the Amazon.
Yeah.
So when they're going over rocks and trees and stuff, they're actually grabbing onto these.
So it's almost like hands. You develop the hand.
It's very primate-like.
Yeah.
You know, which kind of creep me out a bit.
That's crazy.
Because even though we hear that we're very similar to primates.
Yeah.
Looking at those feet made me believe it even more.
Yeah.
And I even I read that primates are actually going into the Stone Age where they're starting to use tools. Mm-hmm. They're creating tools to get around and break things.
They're evolving, dude.
It's so crazy.
They found out that they have a religion now.
What?
Yeah, they believe in something. And then there's like I didn't finish reading the article, but it's like they found a chimp group or something. And then they have like a belief system now.
Dude, that's so creepy, dude.
I know.
That's so fucking creepy.
Dude, we're gonna go Planet of the Apes, man. They're gonna come attack us with fucking. One day they're gonna talk.
Dude, we'll be dead by then. Our children have to figure that shit out. I'll be fucking dead, and I'm okay with it. Yeah. Oh, well, there we go, man.
That was quick.
That was super fast. Yo. Every time we do this, we have a topic that we're supposed to talk about, and then. So we were supposed to talk about what we would do if we didn't have YouTube.
We'll talk about that, but did you know people wanted us to talk about conspiracies anyway?
Oh, really? Okay, well, fuck it then.
Yeah, they kept saying, talk about conspiracies.
Okay, well, we did. Anyways, guys, that wraps up this episode of the Genius Brain Podcast. Remember, we're a podcast about everything and anything, and we're just here to be along your days where you're stuck in traffic or you just want some homies to listen to, man. This is the stuff that you hear outside of the typical stuff you see online. So, check us out on all those audio platforms, specifically iTunes. Give us that 5-star and listen to us if you can't see us on YouTube, and write in those comments below what you thought, what you want us to talk about, your thoughts about these conspiracy theories. It's very interactive. Don't just shut the fuck up and don't say anything. I want to hear you guys speak.
And go check out what Amazon feet look like.
Yeah, all right. So we'll see you guys next time. Remember, we are uploading on Thursdays and Sundays. So we'll see you then. I love you, sons of bitches. And we're out.
Goodbye.